Okay, so thank you for joining. I think you understand that a number of people actually, locals, South Africans, even across the world, they want to become psychologists, especially clinical psychologists. I think most of people are not aware that we have like four categories. I think the fifth one is there now. So we have clinical, counseling, research, industrial, and neuropsychology. And then they are
Yeah.
also registered counselors. And then we have psychometrists. So from your own perspective, since you are almost completing or you are about to become a clinical psychologist, I think you are almost a clinical psychologist. How does it take? How do you become a clinical psychologist?
Oh my
And
God.
then also, if you become, how long does it take? What do you need? Is there maybe a specific attitude, character that is required, or personality? Uh, what can I study? Let's say I'm grade 12. So this is going to be watched by a number of people. Maybe someone's going to share with their children or relatives. So let's say I'm grade 12. Maybe I'm doing a BA psychology already, or maybe I'm doing social work, maybe I'm doing sociology, but I want to become a clinical psychologist. So how do you like how did you become, or how do you reach where you are? If I can use the word pathway, what is the pathway towards becoming a clinical psychologist?
Okay, alrighty. Just to make sure that I do coverage for everyone. In terms of high school and subjects that you choose, it's not really quite a tough one. I would say having maybe life sciences would help, just to get that basic of understanding human behavior in terms of the body. Maths is not really a requirement, so that's not also a biggie. But however, just having also good English marks, because we tend to do lots of report writing, and a good command of English does help in that aspect. Um, in terms of getting into the program in first year, there's generally a lot of people in the psychology class. I remember when I was doing first year, there was about 3,000 of us within our class. So we actually had to split the classes into three different sessions just so it can accommodate everyone. They will have everyone from either law, from social work, and many other different fields from BSc, psychology and physiology. There's many different people within that class. Second year starts to scale down a bit. I think we went down to about half, to about 1,500 in second year. And then in third year, it was starting to become clear that who's majoring in psychology. So I think we're sitting on possibly about 500 then. The difficult part gets into getting into honors. Getting to honors is that's where the biggest challenge you actually face. It's very hard. In most universities, I think they take about 60 max. I stand to be corrected.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so you can imagine from that about 1,500 going to 60. Many people actually get lost in the system there. So getting into honors, that's the first difficult part. Usually they say for honors you need about 65%, but the way it is, most people end up getting in with about 90s to get into the honors program. And from there, from the honors program, we all start fighting to get into the master's program. And within the master's program, they usually take about 6 in most universities across South Africa. I know with where I trained, they currently take 12, which is the highest. I think only 2 universities take 12, but the rest do take 6. That's for clinical. And from there, it's no longer just your marks. So you can come with your 80s, 90s, but it also has to do with your personality, how you engage with other people, how are your interpersonal skills, how adaptable are you, and how you can generally function within a group, and how you understand other people, other cultures. Are you culture sensitive? Are you an ethical person? So it tends to get quite difficult. It's not longer just about marks, but also who you are as an individual and how you interact with others. And
But how do they know your personality? You mentioned that your personality is important, but now let's say the selection usually takes a week. Let's say from a Monday, and then they screen up to Thursday or Friday. Let's say, for example, I understand that 200 people may be invited for an interview, but they end up taking 6 or 8. But how do
Yeah.
they know your personality? You say personality is important, but in a week, how do they do that?
I guess that would be quite the difficult part about it, but I'd like to believe that possibly they just look at the possible traits that you have
And
and
the
take it
reference,
from there. Mm-hmm.
maybe, and I would add that maybe the references that were provided by your previous lecturers also
Yes,
important.
yes, yeah, because I know also that tends to ask how you are as an individual, how do you interact with others, how were you in class? So I think that also does play quite a huge role in getting a glimpse of who you are and how you function as a person.
So
And
okay, thank you. So when you go to work, I think what are you doing now? You are clinical. Are you doing internship?
yes, I'm doing my internship currently.
Okay, from someone who doesn't know what's that. Why are you doing that? We got
Okay.
into masters and then we are done. Go to work. So what are you doing? Why are you doing this? When are you
Oh,
going to become fully registered, accredited psychologist?
okay. So after doing your masters, you have to do a year of internship, which is
Also
just
before,
basically.
before proceed, how long is the masters per se? How long is it?
Okay. Well, it depends on the university, but most universities it's 1 year. With others it's 2 years. So
Okay.
it depends on which university you end up at.
Mm,
Within that 1 year or 2 years, it's both coursework and research.
mm,
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it depends where you are.
mm.
But in terms of what exactly is internship, so it's basically a year where you are under supervision of a registered psychologist, and basically you do work as a full-time employee. However, you are under supervision, so you do what is expected of what a psychologist does. So it's an opportunity for you to demonstrate what you have learned, more of the practical aspect of what you have learned, and applying it and see if are you ready to be fully independent without being under supervision.
Okay, I see. So how long does it take?
It takes 1 year for the internship.
So after that, we are done, and then you become a what else?
Oh no, when you're done, you have to write your board exams
Mm,
with the HPCSA, the Health Professions Council. And once you have passed your board exams, because you're doing clinical, you then have to do 1 year of ComServe.
what's that now? But we are done. What's that?
Okay, but ComServe is basically just that one additional year that you do, and
Mm.
just more of doing community work. You are independent, however, it's just that 1 year that you have to serve.
So
So within
ComServe is
your local
community service.
hospital,
So it's like giving back to the community.
yes, yeah, it's a requirement if you're doing clinical psych for you to do it. I know with other categories you don't have to do community service, but with clinical psychology you have to.
So what is a community per se? Like from a general, from what you've observed, let's say, so does a community mean that you go to those people who cannot afford the therapy or psychological services? Usually, who send you there? Would you apply, or are you what's that word they use in politics? Assign. I'm forgetting the word. So how does it go even with internship? Is it easy to get an internship? Do you have to apply? I'm asking, but I know but I want everyone who's watching so that they can benefit. But do you have to apply, or just happen as you move forward?
Okay. Yes, for both internship and ComServe you have to apply. And with internship you still go through the entire process which you went through when you're doing masters. So they call you in, you do an interview, they ask you a few questions just about psychology in general, maybe what modalities are you comfortable with in terms of psychology, how would you work in that
Mm,
particular setting depending where you're applying, because there's many different hospitals. You might apply to a psychiatric hospital, you might apply to general hospital, so they tend to ask you questions around that. And so, yeah, it's
mm,
still a lengthy process, that process of interviews, being selected. You could be chosen at internship sites, you could not be chosen. So that still does happen. And with community service, it's also a process of applying. Then where you get selected, that's where you would end up.
Okay, okay. So modalities are CBT, person-centered, solution focused. That's what those are modalities.
Yes, yeah, those are all our
Okay.
modalities.
See, I'm sure good. Okay, excellent. So also thank you for whatever that you've shared so far. So when you go to work, let's say when you wake up, okay, mama, bye, I'm going to work. What do you do exactly? Okay, people want to be, because we watch movies, maybe we see therapy. We here in South Africa, when you go to work, what are you doing? Just like general for a week from Monday to Friday. What is the major maybe your key responsibilities there when you go to work?
Okay, so basically our key responsibilities would be going in for psychotherapy. So obviously from whichever modality that you could be working from, providing also short-term therapies, maybe for emergency and crisis cases, be it your suicide, be it maybe counseling just before amputation or any other medical process.
Okay.
Also, more of crisis intervention, also maybe suicide, loss of someone who's just lost maybe a baby or a loved one. We also do assessments, so it could be your intellectual assessments, it could be your personality assessments, that's also done. And we also attend ward rounds where with the multidisciplinary team. So maybe you get to be with the psychologist, psychiatrist, social worker, occupational therapist, all the different other allied healthcare workers. So basically, it's more of that providing psychotherapy, conducting assessments, and attending ward rounds with various other staff members.
Okay, so thank you. So that was my next question. It's like, who do you work with? And I think you've answered that to say that you work with social workers, you work with psychiatrists, you work with other, maybe if you say, let's say it's a hospital setting. So it's common that you work with almost everyone.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So when you say assessments, what was that? You mentioned that mathematics. I wanted to ask that because I want maybe other children to know what's coming up. You say mathematics is not important. I teach statistics. I have a lot of enemies. And when you say assessments, so there's measurement that is involved. So numbers also come into play, is it? So research, I think, is important. Okay, sorry, I'm being biased by just pushing in research there. But assessment is, let's say you want to measure if someone is really depressed. So those assessments, is it?
Yes,
so it's not all about talking, but also assessing.
Yes, yeah, most certainly. And even though, if I do have to come back to that, even though mathematics is not a compulsory subject, however, as you progress, you do see that you do need mathematics, especially for stats.
It honors and
that's coming handy.
Okay,
particularly in honors, you start to see that you did need mathematics.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that's only that. Do you have anything, maybe an advice to anyone who wants to become a psychologist? And then I think it's important we say that at the beginning, that most people don't say they're psychology. We have clinical psychologists, we have counseling, we have industrial psychologists, we have research. I'm a research psychologist. And then we have neuropsychology. I think this is a year now. The Health Profession Council, they recognize that it's now a category. And then we have registered counselors. We train them as well. So they play a big part. I think I'm going to interview one of them so that they can explain what they really do. So do you have any advice for someone, maybe to other children who wants to become like you, or maybe they want to follow the same route?
Okay. Would definitely just be lots of hard work and try to gain as much practical experience as possible. So if you can, even from first year, try and volunteer at many different organizations, try and work with people, try and gather as much experience which will be relevant for getting into being a psychologist or getting into the master's program or even honors. The more experience you have, the much better, because you'll be dealing with people's life experiences. So you will need that experience. But not to give up, work very hard, interact very well with your lecturers and with your fellow students. And yeah.
Okay. So because it's important, like what you're saying, lecturers, they may be lecturers to you, but look at us now. You're my young sister, but I used to teach. But even not only you, a number of people we created, that relationship doesn't end. So it's an encouragement to everyone who's become. You have I'll use the word good. I don't know what it means though, but you have good relationship with your lecturers and whoever. Let's say volunteer, like I know you volunteered. Remember when I was working, you say you volunteered at old age home and some other. I remember that. So I think it's important. So thank you for whatever that you've provided. But if anyone is going to watch this video of questions, so I'm going to share on YouTube and LinkedIn and in any other platform. If they have questions, I'll send them to you so that you can clarify. But it's not ending here as well. I'm going to interview a number of people from different angles. Those maybe who are working as clinical psychologists, as counseling. What are they really doing? Let's say from a Monday to Friday. So we're going to have an interview whereby you ask them, can you explain to us your Monday to Friday, typical one? And then also maybe the effects of COVID-19 in the way that you do your therapy and other things. But for now, thank you. I think this was helpful. Do you have anything to say?
No, that's it from my side.